That's a good point. I wanted to, I guess, ask you guys, investing aside, what are the best tips that you can give people our age or young people, I guess, about managing their finances and about savings? Are there sorts of things that have been extremely helpful for you guys that you've noticed is really important to implement when it comes to your own finances?
One of the things that I did this year, which I've never done before, but I've heard so many people tell me to do on podcasts, was to actually sit down and assess what I spend. It seems like a somewhat of a daunting task, and it can be, but it is so fascinating to see what you actually spend. And it comes down to, you might think you spend $50 or $70 at the supermarket, but you actually spend $120. And that means it's double the amount that you think that you're spending. And sitting down and allocating, I guess, funding to those areas. It's not strict. I'm not strict with my money at all, but it does give me a much better awareness for that when my paycheck comes in. I really do know how much I need for my life expenses so that I can allocate correctly how much I'm going to put into my investing and into my saving. Because before I did that, I found that I'd get to the end of the month, I'd have $10 left in my bank account. I'd be really waiting for that paycheck to come in. But understanding what I do spend day to day really helps you put aside the right amount of money to invest and save.
I think what has probably helped me the most over the last 12 months or so is actually just having more conversations about money with people that I trust. It's a topic that is still quite taboo in a funny way. We don't really talk about the specifics very often. And I think kind of opening up those conversations a little bit more, and I've kind of been able to use the podcast as an excuse to do so, but I have found like real benefits from chatting to my family or chatting to some close friends or people that I really trust about, you know, how am I allocating my money to my savings, to my investments? What bank account am I using for my savings? How is it growing? What's it looking like? And all that kind of stuff. And I think, we're all sitting here doing it separately. And why aren't we all talking about it a little bit more? Because I think sharing that knowledge is hugely valuable. So I would say chat to people you trust.
I think that's great advice. And I also think, as you said, the podcast is a good way to start, because if you haven't got those people around you, then you've got, I guess, other people. You don't necessarily know them, but you're at least listening to people your age talk about the same sorts of topics. They've got guests coming on talking about the topics. And it's something that's kind of, I guess, overlooked by the traditional schooling system as well. They don't really run through what you should be doing with your money, how you should be looking after your finances. And so it's really good to see you guys doing what you're doing with the podcast, and I guess getting that information out to a broader audience.
Although I did see the other day that they have passed a new law in the US. I think it's in Pennsylvania or
Florida. I thought it might be. If it's the same thing, yeah.
Florida.
I think so.
Yeah, about them introducing. You can put a little disclaimer at the beginning of the episode which state we meant, but but they brought in that they're going to make it mandatory for schools to teach financial literacy, which is incredible, and hopefully something that filters down to Australia as well.